Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So you can see that we have the race card out, hashtag race card. And once again, this is going to be a follow up to my Stacey Abrams video. And it turns out, look what we have here, that the same thing that's happening in Georgia might be happening in California too. And it's crazy because California is kind of a liberal bastion in the United States. So this article here is called these black men say they'll vote for Caruso and not Base. Is it the Ice Cube effect? Now, this basically means that Caruso, who's the more conservative candidate for mayor of LA, and Bass is the Democratic, kind of more liberal candidate, that black men are supporting Caruso instead of actually going the usual way that people think that they would go, and that's with the Democratic candidate. So let's get into this real fast. And this is written by Erica D. Smith, and it came out on June 6, 2022. So it reads, in retrospect, I missed the first sign that LA mayoral candidate Representative Karen Bass might have some trouble hanging on to support from black men. It came in the middle of May when legendary Long Beach rapper Snoop Dogg decided to reach out to her main opponent, the billionaire developer and former Republican Rick Caruso, and offer up his endorsement. You got my support, he told Caruso over Zoom. TV news cameras documenting the exchange. We're a part of what you're a part of as far as you bringing love to the community. And this is from Snoop Dogg, you guys. A few days later, there was another sign that I missed, and this is the columnist saying this. Clarence Avant, the revered music industry mogul who introduced then Senator Barack Obama to Southern California political and entertainment circles, also endorsed Caruso. The 91-year-old whose wife Jacqueline was murdered last year during an invasion of their Beverly Hills home left it to the candidate to break the news. I'm humbled and grateful to have the support, Caruso told the Times. Weeks later, it is now clear that these two black men have plenty of company. A new poll of likely voters conducted by UC Berkeley and sponsored by the LA Times found that roughly half of black men plan to vote for Caruso in Tuesday's primary election. In fact, of all the men surveyed, black men were most likely to support him. It's somewhat surprising and as a black woman, more than a little mystifying. Of course, the author is a black woman, so she doesn't get it because oftentimes a lot of black women don't really have to understand black men. Let's get back into it. It's somewhat surprising and as a black woman, more than a little mystifying, given the years Bass spent working in black and Latino neighborhoods of South LA and serving as one of the two black members of the city's congressional delegation. Of course, it's not written in stone somewhere that all black people must vote for black candidates. At least she's saying that's true. Let's get back into it. Plenty of black men and women surely support Caruso for their own sound policy reasons. Maybe even Snoop Dogg and certainly Clarence Avant. We aren't a monolith after all. I mean, just look at Larry Elder. Now let's stop there. I was never really a Larry Elder fan, but what really kind of pushed me onto his side a little bit was to show how in his political bid this last term, I forget what he was running for, but white people were talking all types of shit about Larry Elder and calling him all these names, and black people just stood by and watched people throw eggs at him and do all kinds of stuff because he's a conservative, and that's crazy, Like, you are somehow silent about white people throwing eggs at a white guy and calling him a coon and all types. This is white people doing this. Because you don't agree with his politics really shows how disingenuous a lot of people really are. But let's get back into the article. She says, but in this liberal city, in this very liberal state, it is also true that Caruso is the most conservative candidate running for mayor and that many of his proposals, though responding to genuine problems and public anger, run counter to what most black Angelenos have long said they wanted. Caruso, for example, favors a return to some of the disastrous tough-on-crime strategies of the past, locking up more people and moving away from criminal justice reform. He wants to add 1,500 officers to the LAPD and has been endorsed by former LAPD Chief William J. Bratton, key of broken windows policing infamy. On homelessness, Caruso wants to quickly clear a lot more encampments which black men disproportionately occupy thanks to decades of systematic housing discrimination. That's bullshit. He has made big promises to build more shelters and housing, both of which are easier said than done. But if encampments are cleared when there aren't enough beds available, he has a legally dubious suggestion of moving some homeless people into tent camps, modeled after one built to house undocumented migrant children in Texas. See, housing is housing. I don't understand how that's an issue. Compare that with Bass, whose proposals on public safety and homelessness are less extreme, but are far more realistic, sophisticated, and considerate of poor people of color. I think that it's funny that this whole article talks about black votes, but then they use this term people of color as if black, Hispanic, Asian are all the same, and it's not. So that proves how disingenuous this author is. Let's get back into it. Indeed, this is why many political observers assume she would have the backing of most black voters in LA, and that's what we're talking about. They assume that they're going to have the support of black voters because we don't make them compete for our votes anymore. So all they can do is just, oh yeah, they're just going to vote for me anyways, which is BS. Indeed, this is why many political observers assumed she would have the backing of most black voters in LA if she ran for mayor. Instead, despite strong and consistent support from black women, the poll found an erosion among black voters overall, led by men. The question is why? Is it just sexism, or perhaps a related desire to uphold the patriarchy? Because of course it is, according to all these people. They always try and say it's some type of patriarchy or ism or whatever instead of actually digging into the root cause. So this person says, is it just sexism or perhaps a related desire to uphold the patriarchy given that Bass will be the first woman to be mayor of LA? It can't be racism. No, I believe the answer has to do with what I'm calling the Ice Cube effect. If you recall that shortly before the 2020 presidential election, Ice Cube helped draft a progressive plan for Black America. He tried to get the Biden-Harris campaign to adopt it and was told to wait. And so, driven by good intentions and hubris, he talked with Trump officials about the plan, instead drawing an avalanche of criticism, especially from black women, appalled that he would even consider working with them. And I don't know if anyone who's watching this saw that clip with Ice Cube and Vivica Fox, or Vivica Fox and her little cronies and harpies were talking all this shit to Ice Cube, and Ice Cube said, look, my plan for Black America is for black people, and women are black people. And they were like, oh, that's not true. You need to say specifically about black women. And it's just ridiculous. So I don't know why Ice Cube even tries, but props to him. Ice Cube explained that although he hadn't paid attention to politics in a long time, he acted because Democrats weren't doing anything to help black men and therefore didn't deserve any loyalty for votes if Republicans were willing to do better. Boom, there you go. Ice Cube was saying that Republicans, Democrats need to compete for our votes. And this is what I've been saying in all of my Stacey Abrams videos. Black people in general, not just black men, black women too, but black people in general need to have politicians of the Green Party, Independents, Democrats, Republicans, compete for our votes. That's the only way that we're going to move ahead. But let's get back in this article. Every side is a dark side for us here in America, he put it at this time. They're talking about Ice Cube. They're all the same thing until something changes for us. They all lie and they all cheat. I heard a similar sort of logic when I went to Leimert Park over the weekend to try to understand the apparently lagging support for Bass. I was hoping to talk to black men who plan to cast their votes for Caruso. Instead, I found a bunch of irritated Bass voters who nevertheless understood why their fellow black men would do such thing. They told me many black men are disillusioned and fed up with the status quo. They don't believe another politician can fix anything in LA, so why not give Caruso a shot? Which makes sense. If there's been generations or decades of people ignoring you, why not go the other way? Let's get back into the article. Some black men, they said, are naive about the complexities. Oh, here you go. Fucking bullshit. Okay. Listen to this. Some black men, they said, are naive about the complexities of city politics and don't understand that Caruso's promises on homelessness and the economy won't be easy or quick to implement if they happen at all. So this is basically the shaming language again. Oh, black men might vote for Caruso because they're too stupid or we don't understand what's going on. That's BS. Other black men, they said, see ads on TV and Instagram, part of Caruso's multi-million-dollar massive advertising blitz, and don't know about his history on the LA Board of Police Commissioners or that he wants to add cops to the LAPD. And, of course, here we go with the patriarchy and sexism. Black men can be sexist too, they admitted. Some see Bass as sweet or soft and not hard enough to be mayor like a shrewd, wealthy developer steeped in deal-making. As one black political insider put it, why are we going to vote for her? Because she's a nice lady? And then there are many other black men I met who were completely disengaged from politics, to the point of not knowing there's an election happening, much less who's in the ballot. Some, like Willie, who told me he used to vote regularly but stopped because he doesn't believe any politician can solve his problems. You can work and your wife can, you can work and your wife can or your child can work, the dogs can work, the rats and roaches even working, and you still can't afford to stay in a studio apartment in South LA, he told me, taking a break from selling used DVDs and books out of his minivan. He continued, voice rising, and when was the last time that you heard a politician say black man? And that is true. When was the last time you heard any politician, from Obama to anyone else, saying the term black man? Let's get back into the article. When they think of the black community, they think of black women or black children. They don't think of us, and that is true. Willie ran through a list of government assistance programs from tax credits to food benefits for infants, arguing that they primarily benefit women. Meanwhile, single black women are disproportionately homeless and politicians don't care. This is why he speculated that black men vote differently than black women, and that's absolutely true. But even though you can actually say, too, that the black men who are the 60% who are in the middle class or the working class, or who are even in the upper class, tend to be more fiscally conservative too. So we aren't subject to all the same, we don't need all these all these government assistance programs, but we want, breaks from taxes and all the same stuff that all the other wealthy people get. He said, but that's okay, he spat, shaking his head in resigned anger. On Sunday, the Bass campaign didn't respond to a request for comment about the new poll. Statistically, the trend line on black men, while a bit embarrassing, that's putting it lightly, isn't a serious problem for her in the primary. Black voters only make up a mere 13% of the electorate in Los Angeles, and heading into the official close of voting on Tuesday, Bass is leading Caruso in the polls overall, 38% to 32%, signaling there will be a November runoff. In many ways, this is a race that's bigger than LA. Yes, because Georgia and Stacey Abrams are the same way. How Angelina's vote for mayor is sure to have national implications on issues ranging from criminal justice reform and policing to housing and homelessness. How we vote also will provide a window into how some of the largest problems within the Democratic Party are likely to shake out in the coming years. In 2020, black voters were the difference between a second term for Donald Trump and a first term for Joe Biden. The difference between a slim majority in Congress and Republicans running the show. As midterms approach, given the partisan brinkmanship and collapse of so many Democratic priorities in Congress, including the police reform effort that Bass helped lead, there are fresh fears that black voters won't return in similar numbers in this year or in 2024. And that is something they really need to fear, because people are getting pissed off and they're getting impatient, especially black men. Let's get back into the article. Indeed, a recent Gallup poll found that Biden's approval rating among black adults was 67%, down 20 points from the beginning of his presidency. Younger voters Latinos aren't really feeling the current administration either, setting off even more panic among the Democrats, and they should be scared. Then again, it's just a poll. Exit polling from 2020, exit polling from the 2020 election indicated more black men defected to Trump. That turned out to be more hype than reality, and poll numbers ahead of the primary in this mayoral election race could be as well. Black women have long been thought of as a backbone of the Democratic Party. We are the influential, if relatively small, percentage of the population, especially in California, credited with delivering voters to elections. Now perhaps it's black men who are becoming the bellwether of the Democratic Party. Because if you can't convince a majority of liberal black men in an overwhelmingly blue city like LA to vote for former head of the Congressional Black Caucus, what hope do Democrats have in red and purple states? That's the Ice Cube effect. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. This is the avatar of the issue that I've been seeing with being a black man and trying to navigate through politics and understand what's going on. Black men in general are not feeling like we're heard, and we don't feel like anyone gives a shit about us or our political interests. And now you're seeing this in Georgia, which is a really important state. You're seeing this in California even. And this is 2022. Imagine in the next election, 2024. Imagine in 2030, in 2035, if things keep going the way that they're going. Black men are not having this anymore. And the Democrats need to understand that this is not a game. You know? Now we have things like social media. We have things like the manosphere and all these things where people are sharing ideas. And we're not having it anymore. We aren't having some Stacey Abrams who's going to try and treat us like children and shame us into voting for him. You need to have an actual tangible agenda and a tangible set of benefits that we'll get from voting for you. And if not, kiss my ass. Black men are saying, kiss my ass. We don't want to deal with you. So, guys, this is AJ. Like, subscribe. I appreciate all the new subscribers. You guys are the absolute best. Stay safe, and I am out of here.